will go ahead and share.
Once again, I lost my notes. Hello, everyone. I'm Charlotte Anders. I'm the Director of Career and Professional Development here at the Alumni Association. I've got three screens going. I'm having trouble. There we go. Um, Welcome to today's program. Will be recorded. It is being recorded, and we'll send you a link to the recording in an email on Friday. You'll also have access to the slides, so you don't have to frantically take notes. The microphones are muted. Your microphones are muted. And if you have questions or comments, and we encourage that, please put them in the Q&A section, not the chat. We might share information in the chat, but we'd really like the questions to be in the Q&A section, and we'll get to as many as possible. So today's topic is developing an AI first mindset. So important. And our speaker is Swati Jain, a product management and digital transformation leader with over 2 decades of experience at the intersection of business and technology. I had to read that because I couldn't remember it. She has led global initiatives in AI strategy and customer experience, helping organizations harness emerging technologies to solve complex business problems. She is a wealth of information. She's dropped her LinkedIn profile into the chat and encourages you to follow her, uh, connect, and she'll tell you more about that. So I don't want to take up any more of your time, Swati. So please let me turn this over to you and get us started.
Wonderful. Thank you. Charlotte, can you hear me okay?
Yes, thank
All
you.
right. Well, it's great to be here. Hello, everyone. I am really looking forward to take us through this journey over the next 60 minutes. But before we get started, Charlotte covered, of course, some of the logistics, but I'd love to know who all are attending this session. So just do me a favor. Of course, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd love to continue to interact with all of you. But additionally, if you can just drop in chat your name, where are you dialing in from, and what brings you here, and maybe, just what you do, what your role is, just so I can understand the diversity of the audience we have. And then, like Charlotte mentioned, please post your questions in the Q&A. We will be taking questions. And of course, I have also dropped a link to my community so you can join our community and we can keep the discussions going from there. Now, as Charlotte mentioned, my name is Swati Jain. I have been a product and technology professional for over 2 decades. So, needless to say, I've seen a variety of trends and transformations in the industry over the span of 20 plus years. But I must say, AI is something that is unparalleled. And this is why I feel so passionately about AI literacy and really bringing people along on this journey with me. So, why are we here? If you're like me, you're probably your journey here is starting with curiosity. That's how it started for me. You're leaning into AI, you're curious about where it is, and if you have been using AI, you're now starting to wonder what more there is to it. How can you integrate it into your workflows? How can you bring even efficiencies in your work? Maybe you've been given a charter to drive AI transformation in your organization. And if you're a business owner or a business leader, you're looking to see how AI can, just how AI can help you accelerate some of the growth that everyone claims one can have with AI. So, my hope is that by the end of this session, regardless of where you fit on this scale, each of you can take at least one thing away from this session that you can start to put to immediate use to start really, really progressing forward with this AI first mindset. Now, a lot of times in my community and workshops, people ask, what is the real hype around AI? Is it really here to stay? Is it just another shiny new object? And I kind of think of it as how does it change the dynamics of work and the workplace that we know? And the last significant shift our work went through was when we moved from industrial to information age. And of course, there's a lot to unpack over multiple decades. But generally, if you think about machine computing, cloud computing, internet, digitization, which ultimately led to, just massive scale globalization, access to information, and, being able to collaborate with people across the globe. That's what information age brought to us. We are now sitting at the intersection of the next major leap, which I look at it as an intelligent age. And why it's an intelligent age is because we're no longer just depending on the machine's ability to be this mediator to help two people, to humans connect. It also now commands the ability to make decisions, to also, process information, to generate new content, as we're going to see. And I'm sure all of you have played with it. And of course, it can also, if you're starting to build more agents, it can make autonomous decisions as well as actions. So we're really making this transition towards an intelligent age. And if I double click into what that means, and compare it to the information age. In the information age, we were limited to working with primarily structured data, as we call in computer science, but really text. Whatever you enter, the machine should be able to read. It was typically limited to something that was digitized text print. And from there, the machine will then follow some kinds of rules that you have defined in the system to take you from step A to step B. What's changing now is that machines now understand a whole breadth of modalities of information. It's not just limited to structured text information. It can also work with images. It can work with voice, videos, PDFs. So a lot of unstructured data, which means that its ability to work with information is starting to resemble more like how humans work with information and the modalities that we tend to use on a day-to-day basis to make sense of the world around us. In addition, as we all know, this machine can also generate net new content. Now, granted, it is based on the data it has been trained on, but we've all experienced and have been wowed by the machine's ability to generate content and how precise it is to some of our needs depending on the context in which you're using it. So that's one fundamental shift that this intelligent age is bringing, and why. The other is, as AI is evolving, there are more AI native tools, applications, or as we call wrapper solutions that are coming up that has made the process of creation really easy. So if you're not a developer, if you're not a designer, and you have always had this idea, you no longer have to learn programming. You don't have to hire people to do it for you necessarily. At least you can move from idea to prototyping largely on your own with AI native applications and bring your ideas to life. Of course, if you're going to take something production grade, you will need experts still, but it at least democratizes the process of creation for the most part, if you think about the life cycle of building something. So that's another shift this intelligent age is promising to bring, and we're already seeing it in action. The third is most of us who are using AI have experienced this. And for those who are going to integrate it more, you're going to find that it's also leading to a large cognitive shift. Activities in the past that involved humans to read information, to process it, to corroborate it, to calibrate, process, create, can now be delegated to machines, which means that from a cognitive load standpoint, we may no longer have to spend a lot of time in the busy work that kills productivity and also burns you out. Instead, you as humans that of course bring their own unique perspective can spend more of your time in strategy and ideation and creative work and partner with AI in a manner that allows you to delegate some of the busy work to it and of course harness the full potential of this intelligent age. So this is where we are really starting to think about cultivating an AI first mindset. So let me talk about at a high level what does that mindset look like? First and foremost, you have to stop looking at AI as just a tool and start thinking of it as a teammate. And I'll double click into that shortly. The other is instead of thinking about making incremental improvements in whatever solutions, products, or processes you do, think about how can you elevate the experience. And we'll talk about that as well. And third is how can you optimize, not just optimize your existing business process flows, but how can you redesign it where now you've redesigned it, where part of the workflow can be autonomously handled by a digital agent, and then the other part keeps human in the loop to take it further based on the complexity of the application. So let's look into what each of these means a little bit more closely. So when I think of an AI as a teammate, This is where I'm looking at it as, personally in my flows, and I'll walk you all through it. I'm looking at it as if I'm doing, let's say, a strategy work, right? Where can I bring in AI to help me do some of the heavy lifting in terms of researching what's happening, the latest trends, data, calibrating if this information is credible, and then from there, even synthesizing all of this information so I can formulate my strategy. This is where I can use AI as a teammate to help me do some of that research work. And then I come in to bring my own unique perspective and, of course, take the narrative further from there. So that's an example of using AI as your teammate. And of course, there are many more examples if you think about how programmers can evolve their workflows with AI as a teammate, data analysts, and much more. When we think about reimagining experiences, this is where don't limit your imagination to the traditional way of people going in and entering forms, right? Start to think about more conversational experiences. It could be user now coming in and just asking a question. And hey, don't limit to just text, use voice. Maybe allow your customers to be able to ask a question using not just text, but also voice mode. So this is where you're now starting to think about creating experiences that feels a lot more like you're interacting with a human-like capability. All right. And again, there could be lots more examples in that category as well. The third one, redesigning. This is where you're starting to reimagine your workflows with a hybrid collection of intelligence, where you have the machine-led intelligence and then also the human-led intelligence. So to give an example, if let's say you are in the sales organization and you get customers leads, and today it requires someone to read that, research the prospect, and then research what services you offer, and then draft a response back to the prospect. That part can be delegated to a digital agent who can perform all of this autonomously. And if you're able to bring that lead down into your funnel, then you bring in a salesperson to continue the discovery and sales conversations. So these are just some examples, but it's all about starting to reimagine how these capabilities, this intelligent capability, can be integrated into your workflows, whether in your personal life or in your business. So, Charlotte, I'm going to take a quick pause and see if there are any questions.
Okay. We only have one, but it's looking for applications for enhanced technology, and I believe you're going to be covering some of that as we move forward.
Right. So we will go through some of the show and tell and examples. And of course, if there are more questions after that, time pertaining, I'm happy to double click further. Okay. Um, let's continue then. Okay. So, how do you develop this AI first mindset? There are many things that goes behind it, but fundamentally, I think of it as a three-step process, at least if I go back to my personal experience when my journey started with it. First of all, expand your AI landscape, and we'll look at what that means. Second is integrate these tools, these broader landscape and capabilities into your day-to-day flows. And third is don't think of it just as a tool that you use, but think of it as building a toolkit. So if you are currently limiting yourself to only using, let's say, ChatGPT or Gemini, Claude, and let's say even Perplexity, I think these are some of the common contenders. There are a lot more tools that specializes in different tasks. So let's take a look at what a broader landscape could look like. And again, this is not a comprehensive landscape, but because I expected a whole diversity of audience here, this is more general purpose, consumer focused solutions. But generally, what's important is that you start to understand these AI capabilities categorically, so that you can start to think where to bring what capability in the flow of your work. So to start with, the first one on the left side of the spectrum is your smarter conversation tools. We've all used ChatGPT, which sits on the GPT models. Similarly, Claude sits on basically is from Anthropic and has its own collection of models. And Gemini is from Google, which has its own collection of models. And each of these models are continuously getting enhanced with newer capabilities, more, just more guardrails, more precision. So when I think of the smarter conversation tools, I go to these tools more for my general purpose needs. And even within this, I tend to use all of these. And I have a preference where I would go to ChatGPT for more general content purposes and Claude for the purposes of data analysis and coding or debugging. And then Gemini for the purposes, mostly for the purposes of creative content. It could be images, videography, and things like that. You don't have to limit to that. You can broaden your use cases, but this is the pattern that I have developed that works for me. And I'm continuously changing my pattern as new capabilities and versions come out. And, I find something may have enhanced further in certain area. But this is how I think about a lot of these model families and model chat interfaces, as these are my general purpose capabilities, specializing in different kinds of areas. The second category of AI native tools is what I categorize as my research tools. And research can be of two types as well. If I'm trying to perform a research that is based on the latest, greatest information that's out there in the industry, it's on the latest trends and all kinds of information that needs to reflect a current recency of data, then this is where I would use a tool like Perplexity. And again, you don't have to limit yourself to Perplexity. ChatGPT also has a deep research model, so you could use that as well. Or not model, but deep research agent. So you could use that. But the fundamental power of these agents is to be able to perform research like a PhD level person who would go gather information, perform the due diligence to vet out what's a credible information in context of the research, and from there synthesize the information and then also draft and output findings and also provide citations with it. That's a typical flow of a researcher, right? So that's what some of these research tools are fundamentally grounded in doing. The other kind of research is being able to research information within that's grounded in my knowledge. So especially if I have some playbooks, if I have, my knowledge base, this could be at work or outside of work, and I am looking to recall information or synthesize information across multiple documents in my knowledge base. I am a big advocate of using Google Notebook Alum for that. And why I use that is because, and we'll look at it, but where it helps with is traditionally, if you have used SharePoint or Confluence or any other wiki, you depended on putting the right keywords on your documents and then hoping and praying that when you need to find it, you'll find it using that keyword. And even after that, you had to read through all the documentation to find the exact information you needed, right? Instead, Google Notebook LM allows you to, as long as you organize your information, allows you to find that information just through natural language conversation, and it's no longer dependent on any kind of keyword markings. All right, so this is how I think about the second category of tools. Moving up the spectrum, the third category of tools are more creative and presentation purposes. So if you're in marketing, you need to generate images. This is where I would recommend use Nano Banana. It's kind of, it's fairly recent and has become best in class for that. VO3 is from Google also, which has become best in class for video generation. So for any creatives or marketing people out here, think of it that way. HeyGen and 11 Labs are more focused on voice customization and creating avatars. So I know that there are university professors who are now starting to use these tools to create and deliver their content through customized avatars in their own voice, in their own digital avatar. And what you're seeing on my screen right now is built on a presentation tool called Gamma. And I'll show you what that experience looks like, where Gamma allows me to feed my content and then it does the heavy lifting of graphically representing information that looks pretty and is easy to digest. So this is category of tools around your creative presentations. As we move up, the next category of tools are your prototyping tools. So this could be if you are a product manager, or even if you have an idea and you are looking to build a website. This is where tools like Lovable and many other in the category, we'll look at Lovable, This is where these tools can help you visualize your ideas in a much more, of course, digestible manner. So gone are the days where, you have to write your requirements document, find a designer, go back and forth, multiple sessions to help them understand and then reflect that on paper in the form of wireframes. This is where these prototyping tools come in really handy. So highly encourage if you are sitting on an idea to use one of these. As we kind of start to move towards the right side of the spectrum, we are looking at building agents. You have low code agent building tools. We'll look at one in ChatGPT. You also have more high complex agent building tools that are more enterprise grade because, of course, security, governance, observability, and all of that comes in when you're looking to deploy something at enterprise scale. And then far right, while we talked about all of these tools, these are more consumer focused tools. But if you are working for an organization, chances are you're either a Gemini shop or basically a Google Suite shop, or you are a Microsoft shop. And if you haven't already, hopefully your organization will start to introduce Microsoft Copilot or Google Gemini, which also brings in a lot of these capabilities now integrated native into their suite. All right. So we'll look at what it takes to work with some of these next. But before I move further, any questions, Charlotte?
I have to turn my microphone back on. What applications do you recommend for taking the next steps from using Chat GPT for generative AI and moving to automation? And I think you may have just covered that.
Yeah.
Mark, if that was not covered, you can add another question here and we'll get to it a little later.
All right. Then if there are no other questions, let's continue to the next one, Charlotte. Yeah.
Let's see. We don't we don't have any other questions in the Q&A, but why don't you go ahead with your slides? We're having a lot of great discussion happening in the chat.
All right. Well, I'm missing the fun then because I can't see that. But
I'll share
hopefully
it with
I'll
you
get the
later.
transcript so I can see. Yes. I love the discussion. That's my most favorite part of it, and hopefully we'll get some more time towards the end of it. All right. So let's move to the next. So I've introduced you to a landscape, and chances are you all have heard about many of these tools. Next, I want to show you some real life application of how you can start to integrate these AI native applications into your workflow. So we'll go through some examples, some scenarios next. Okay, so let's take our first example. Let's say you are, your role involves a lot of strategy work, regardless of your title, your function, but, generally you're looking to, build some kind of a strategy and then you bring others along in your organization, whether it's your executives or your team members, to buy in to the strategy that you're proposing. Now, traditionally, and I've spent many years in consulting, so traditionally, I'll tell you my workflow was it usually took a lot of research, either between online research, going through documentation, and then also talking to a lot of people, especially, when I'm doing digital transformation, when I was doing digital transformation consulting. And after that, I would involve my consultants, we'll synthesize all the information, we'll go through multiple iterations of review and versions of changes. And then once we landed on what strategy we're going to propose, then we would bring in our graphical designers to help turn that into beautiful slides for us. And then from there, we will also create some kind of an executive brief as a pre-read so that, people come more prepared for this meeting. And this could take, depending on the magnitude of the engagement, this could take anywhere from really weeks to months, minimum, 2 weeks and sometimes 4 weeks and more. So now, when I think of doing that kind of a work, this is where I'm going to show you how that process could change. And again, this is one pattern. It's not to say you're only going to use it this way, but for the purposes of illustration, I'll show you what that workflow could look like. So first, and the tools that I'm going to use for this, for illustration purposes, are Perplexity for research, Gamma for presentation, and Notebook LM for creating a very grounded executive brief in my company knowledge. And again, this is all for illustration purposes, so this is not a real example. So I'm going to go to Perplexity. And in Perplexity, I have already pasted a prompt that I constructed. And, there are a lot of good practices on what's a good prompt. I'm sure you all have heard the term prompt engineering. But it's really not so much about, when you think about a good prompt, you're really learning to see how you steer the machine's thought process in the right direction. And again, if I think of it as a teammate, if I'm working with a teammate, what am I going to do? I know that as a teammate, I am looking for them to perform a specific role, a specific function. So in this, I have given them that specific role. Hey, you are performing the role of a strategy research analyst for a technology consulting firm, right? Next, I would tell them what is my objective? What is my goal? I am looking to prepare a quarterly briefing, right? Next, I will tell them, okay, this is where I need your help. So I'll give them a little bit more context. So this is where, hey, I need your help with creating this strategy around digital transformation over the next 12 to 18 months roadmap. What are the latest breakthroughs in these areas? And then I would like you to present your output to me in a certain format. It should be summarized with an executive friendly language, have credible sources, identify which industries and use cases apply to each of these scenarios, and then also suggest some strategic questions so I can engage my executives in a strategic conversation. This is just example. Also in here, I have told my prompt, hey, by the way, just so you know, I'm actually going to take what you're going to provide and I'm going to feed it in the next tool called Gamma to generate slides. So this is where I'm kind of giving it all the context that is relevant for me to steer its behavior that aligns with my intent, my context, and my desired workflow here. So what I'm going to do is on Perplexity, I am going to select the deep research mode. And what the deep research mode does is it brings in its research agent, which is from a workflow standpoint built to kind of function and operate like a PhD level researcher would, like I talked about earlier. You could do a general conversation, a general search like you would even in ChatGPT now. But when I'm performing deep research, I like to use deep research either in Perplexity or deep research agent in ChatGPT. So I'm going to go ahead and execute this. And it's saying that it's going to take me roughly 3 minutes to draft this summary. And it's showing me how it's thinking about it. It's, what kind of sources it's finding online, that it's reviewing these sources. And it's really kind of showing me its thought process of how it's going about performing this research for me, as you can see. And it's gonna take 2 more minutes. So what I'm gonna do is, in the interest of time, I'm going to switch to my next tab where I already gave this command and show you what the output looks like. So if I go back up, I had given the same prompt and right here, you will notice that it showed me its entire working process. So if I want to read what it did, I can. This is where if a teammate has done something and I ask, hey, how did you go about doing this research? I'm kind of getting that visibility and transparency on how the deep research agent processed my request. But here's the output. And notice it has really grounded itself in the context that this is an executive briefing. So this is generally the scope and the horizon of research that I've performed. These are the different topics. And for each topic, I'm giving you a high-level summary. What are my findings? Additional details that I had requested, strategic questions, etc. And then repeat it for every topic that I provided in my prompt. And then towards the end, it's providing a summary as well as providing citations, of course. And finally, how I should think about a slide structure here. I could take it, I could scrap it. It's up to me, but it's pretty comprehensive in my opinion, and it gives me a starting point. Now, it's also telling me, hey, overall, I used 33 resources. If I was to do something like this on my own or even with a team of people, I mean, this would have easily taken 2 weeks, if not more. So what I normally do from a workflow standpoint is I take this output and I put it in my canvas and I review it and I make changes and remove and add, condense it to a copy that aligns with the story that I want to tell. So I'm not taking this output blindly. Highly recommend that do not remove yourself from the process, integrate yourself in the process. So I did delegate the heavy lifting work to AI in this case, but I'm still keeping myself in the loop because at the end of the day, I'm the one presenting. This is my story and I want to stand behind it. So I normally will spend some time going through making changes. Sometimes I have to make more changes, sometimes less. But the idea is that I can now spend more time with data that is pre-compiled for me and information that is synthesized for me, and then make changes that aligns with the strategy that I'm working towards. Now, in my workflow, I will make a copy of this, and next I will go to a tool like Gamma. You all remember Gamma is like a presentation tool. So I'll go to Gamma. There are various different ways in which you can start your Gamma, which is basically a presentation. And normally I start with just pasting the text that I copied from here, which I did not. So let me copy. And over here, I'm going to paste the text and I'm going to say, hey, generate some slides for me. Keep the presentation style traditional. I want a presentation. And towards the end, I'm saying, hey, preserve this text. I could just drop one line. I could actually just start my research here, but it's not going to be as in depth. I could literally start with the same prompt that I put in Perplexity here, and it will generate everything for me. But try it. You're going to find the research is not as in depth because it's not a research agent, right? It's not been trained to think and function like a researcher. So this is where I start with Perplexity for research, then come to Gamma with my content, say, hey, just preserve this exact text. But while you do that, I also want this to be condensed because this is for executive purposes. I have the choice to upload my own theme if I am doing this for a company or for a customer, and also, give it a choice of what kind of images it should use, if any. You can play with these toggles and see how it works. But once I'm good with all the configuration that I've given it, I'm going to go ahead and generate my slides. So what you're going to see on my screen pretty soon here, this slide is going to start to build visually on my screen. And I still believe it's the most beautiful sight when I see this happen because this is one area I always struggled with as a consultant. So what you're seeing is it took that outline, it's following my instructions and my settings or my preferences. And look, now it's extracting all the critical information from the data that I provided, and it's putting it in a digestible manner, what goes on each slide. It's generating the right headlines and subheaders, and images are being generated, and icons are being applied. All of this is coming from Gamma's library, and I don't have to worry about the right way to break this down or even visually if this is looking good. So I'll let it continue. This normally takes a few seconds, but in the interest of time, I'm going to show you a version that I did create using a different style sheet earlier. So this is what this other version looks like. Okay, so what it has done now is it's shaved off like good weeks worth of work between me and my designer to go back and forth, and now I can tinker with it more. I can make changes on a slide if I want to. Another great thing about Gamma is that Gamma now also has its agent integrated into Gamma, so I can just tell the agent, hey, make this change for me on this slide. And I don't have to go mess with the slide directly. I can just give it a prompt in this so that it makes the change for me. I would highly recommend play with it and see what features you like. One thing I would recommend if you are going to be using an AI native presentation system like this, another thing I really appreciate about Gamma, because it is an AI native tool and I have an AI agent, I will also give it a prompt to say, hey, help me prepare to give this presentation. Like, help me prepare my narrative. How should I actually talk about this? What should be my opening? What should be my conclusion? How do I engage them? How much time should I spend on each slide? And it's reviewed the entire slide and it's given me an outline of, hey, your opening hook should be something like this. Spend 30 seconds on it. This is how you move through your three-step trends, and then some additional presentation tips. So not only do I have a teammate who built this for me, it's also coming in as a strategic partner for me to think about how I want to talk about this. Okay, and I'm going to show you one more tool and then we'll take a pause. But because I'm building this research workflow, normally in my consulting work, I would send some kind of an executive brief. And if you go back to kind of developing that AI first mindset, I'm starting to think of how do I send this brief that is a lot more digestible and easy to process. So instead of writing, long documents brief, I'm now playing with generating video or audio summaries. So this is where I come to Notebook LM. Notebook LM is a tool from Google. And here you can create notebooks. Think of it as a container, like you would have folders in SharePoint. That information in the same context goes together. So this is my playground, my test one, not my real one. So in this, I have created one notebook that is around the consulting work that I do, hypothetical consulting work that I'm doing, which is around this is my business. It has information on what I do, what is my framework of taking an organization through transformation. And I've also uploaded this gamma, which I exported as a PDF. I also uploaded that PDF here. You can add any kinds of sources. It's natively integrated with Google Workspace, so you can add a direct link to your Google Drive document. You can also drop a link to a website as long as that website is not hidden behind a secure account. It can read that content and pull that here, or you can just copy and paste something. So you can upload, I think last number I read was 200 sources in one notebook. And I use this extensively at my work as well. So from here, once I've done that, I can go and ask any question. What are some of the So again, gone are the days where I have to go find information in my knowledge base and then come up with an answer like this, right? This is doing research that is grounded in the sources that are in this notebook, and not only finding the information, but actually giving me the answer that I need. That's what's really compelling about it. But additionally, I can create different assets that are like, available as pre-built capabilities. So like I said, I am using a lot of audio or video overviews. So I can generate, if I want a video or an audio overview, I'm just going to go ahead and click audio overview. I can also customize my prompt here. I already generated a video summary here, and let me play what that looks like so you have some context. I have another workbook notebook here with a lot more information. So I'm going to go ahead and play this. Charlotte, do me a favor. Just let me know if you can't listen the sound. Okay.
Okay,
Okay, let's talk about your AI transformation. How do we
got
get
it.
from just hype
Yeah.
to actual ROI? So get this, 89% of CIOs are already calling agentic AI a top priority. The shift is happening now. But why do so many AI projects, like 60% of them, just fizzle out and fail to scale? It really comes down to three critical barriers. Let's break them down one by one. First up, a lot of projects just get stuck in the pilot phase. The ROI isn't clear, it's complex. Second, you've got the platform wars. Picking the wrong architecture now, that's a huge strategic misstep. And third, the legal stuff. We're talking new regulations with some pretty tight deadlines coming up fast. So yeah, the real goal here is to turn all this AI hype into results you can actually measure. We always start with your business goals. Think increased revenue, better retention, real tangible outcomes. That's why we build a crystal clear roadmap. It's all about minimizing risk and maximizing your ROI. And of course, we navigate all the tech for you, choosing the right tools and building what you need. And this is why it matters. Our partners see incredible, measurable improvements in their day-to-day operations. So how do we get there? We take you right from strategy to reality with a proven step-by-step plan. Look, let's build your roadmap together. Let's turn that AI potential into your new competitive advantage.
All right. So why I played this is because I want you to notice all the visuals that were created, the audio, and even like it's all generated by Notebook LM. I've not fed any of these slides to it. It extracted and built these slides, this visual representation, just through a prompt. And I would say it's pretty compelling if I could just share this with my customer as a pre-read because, it goes a long way and also shows how prepared you are. The other thing is, you could download this. Oh, one more thing to notice here is it's grounded in my fictitious company's knowledge and how I can help you with your transformation. So not only did it generate a brief, but it also grounded it in the framework that my company has to offer, which is where it's research in and content generation grounded in your knowledge. So this is how I want you to start thinking about how you could potentially do your strategy work. Okay, this is just one pattern. Again, you come up with your patterns, and normally something like this would just take me a day or two now instead of spending weeks or months on this. All right, Charlotte, I'm going to take a quick pause. I have a lot more to cover, but are there any questions I can answer?
Yes, there are questions. Christine Roberts would like to know what is best for writing a book? Do you have a suggestion?
Well, it really depends. But if you have, I would say, actually, this question came up in one of my workshops. There is a concept of temperature in all these models, which controls how creative your output is, between like how definitive your output is, which is if you're doing mathematical work, you want it to be more, you want it to be more definitive. Whereas if you're doing more creative work, you can raise the temperature, which means that it's going to pick an answer that's more creative and less definitive, which is good for creative work. So I have people who have been through my workshops who are using that capability now to create music, to write storybooks. So maybe play with that. Another tool I would mention is maybe try Google Storybook. Gemini Storybook, I think I had it listed in my Spectrum. So maybe look into that. But it's really a combination of, ultimately giving it the right prompt. Don't try to write the entire book in one go. Start with like a high level outline, but then ground itself to say, hey, I just want you to create the first chapter or maybe the first page kind of a thing, or maybe an outline, and then work on it incrementally. And there you can experiment with the temperature to kind of get a little bit more creativity out of it.
That's great. Okay, I have another one here. For those in academia or for a small business, these seem very helpful. But if you work for a large company with lots of sensitive data, how do you use these various tools like Gamma without an enterprise slash company-wide license agreement? In that situation, is this really only for personal use?
No, so again, like I was sure, well, it depends, right? If your organization has an enterprise license with Copilot or Gemini, you no longer have to worry. I mean, I use these tools extensively in my work setting, and I'm still able to tap into a lot of these capabilities. I have not come across anything yet within, like for instance, Google Suite. It has slides. It has Gemini integrated into slides, but it's still not as powerful as Gamma. So what you could do is you could still use a tool like Gamma if you're doing presentation, redacting all of the sensitive information just so you can kind of come up with a framework. And then unfortunately, and then you can download it in Google Slides format. You have that option. And then still kind of do some of the heavy lifting in your own environment. That's one way to do it. But ideally, if your organization has provisioned an enterprise license, then you don't have to worry about data or information, because enterprise licenses will protect and segment your data and will not be mingled with any kind of general training by any of these LLM providers.
Okay, thank you. Without a human reading all that research, how do you guarantee that the AI didn't miss something? If the AI then creates the slides, how does the less informed presenter answer questions for those in a meeting?
Well, I mean, this is where I mentioned earlier, the objective here is not to remove yourself from the equation, right? You have to still be the expert in terms of the knowledge you're presenting. You still have to be the expert in reviewing or bringing an human expert from your team to review the content. You still have to educate yourself on the topic if you're going to present this to the executives. So there is this whole worry of what we are calling AI slop, where people are literally taking AI output and not even taking it, giving it a look and just passing it to the next person. Please don't do that, because you're just training yourself to delegate your expertise and your due diligence to AI and removing yourself from the equation, which is not good. So try to find a good balance. Use this to do the heavy lifting, but still continue to be the expert to review everything.
Okay. This is from Todd, and I think you may have answered part of this. Gamma works for cases where the sources are public. That's not often the case for business slash clients, which restrict internal client work product to internal AI tools. Can Copilot, for instance, rely on internal SharePoint content to create content similar to what Gamma is able to do?
Yes, I mean, that's the benefit of Copilot, right? Copilot is natively integrated into all of your SharePoint and emails and Teams messages and everything, right? So it's actually a great tool for you to find information that may be spread across different systems in your environment and really kind of give you a strategy that's grounded in knowledge across different systems and sources within your environment. Now, I have not played with Copilot PowerPoint to have a strong opinion one way or another of whether or not it can, produce a slide like this. But at least in terms of your data synthesis and research that's grounded in the systems that you're using within Microsoft ecosystem, you can absolutely use that.
Okay, thank you. And this one I think you've also um, answered partially. How do you validate the research output from Perplexity, or do you trust most of it? How much effort should you spend validating the research?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of already answered, don't remove yourself from the equation, still be the expert and do your due diligence. And why I also appreciate all these research agents is that it is providing me citation for every line that it's giving me. So if I'm going to keep it, I will go and read a little bit about it if I'm unclear about it, right? So these tools are synthesizing all the information from you, but please continue to do your due diligence.
Okay, thank you. And then we got a comment that the audio was too fast. I think that was to get through the.
Oh, I actually changed it to 1.5 just so we could get through this. That's all. You can hear it just like any other players. You can change the settings.
Right. Okay, thank you. That's all the questions that we currently have. If you want
All
to
right.
go back to your information.
Let's do this. I mean, we only have 15 minutes or even less, so we have a lot to cover. Let's continue, guys. All right. So we just saw the strategy work. Now let me show you how I approach the build work. So build work, again, this is like in my context, I'm talking about build work. That's actually programming work that involves designers and developers. And I talked briefly about what that collaboration looked like in the past. Now I don't spend cycles in writing elaborate PRDs or product requirements document or even, spending hours with research with designers. I just start with a tool like ChatGPT or, within organizational context, whatever has been provisioned and authorized by my company. So it could be Google or Copilot and or Gemini or Copilot. But this is where I am in ChatGPT now. And in ChatGPT, I am using a custom GPT that has been provisioned by Lovable because it allows me to generate a draft of requirements document, a prompt for Lovable that Lovable can process really well. So what I'm telling Lovable is, hey, I want to make a holiday theme app where people are able to submit gratitude. It's that time of the year, so that was on top of my mind, so I went with that. And I want people to be able to submit these as voice notes, emojis. Remember, I talked about don't limit yourself just to text. So I'm playing with all of this, and it initially started as, okay, Thanksgiving is coming up. Should I create something so that all my family members, extended family can kind of submit their gratitude? It would be a fun exercise. So I went to ChatGPT, and I'm using ChatGPT. You could use general ChatGPT, or you could use a specific agent, which in this case is Lovable Agent. And I told this agent, hey, this is what I'm trying to do. What do you think how should do you think I should go about it? So it starts to, you're all familiar with how ChatGPT responds. And it said, look, looks good. I think this is your vision. And which means now I also have like my documentation of what I'm trying to build if I'm trying to do this for work. And if you're going to build this, then this is your Lovable prompt. This is the prompt you can feed into your prototyping tool to get something that is close enough to what you're trying to build. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this prompt and I'm going to go to Lovable and I'm going to put it here, which I've already pasted, or I can remove it and just paste it here. Again, this is showing you how everything is turning towards more of this lightweight interfaces, no extensive forms. Everything starts with a conversation, and I could technically start with a voice conversation if I want, or I can just paste a text here, right? So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to send Lovable to work to create an app for me. Now, the first time you're building an app in Lovable or prototype in Lovable, it could take some time. So I'm going to let it do its thing, but I'll show you what the output looks like when I did this initially. I'm actually going to drop this link in chat. I would love for all of you to leave a gratitude here, maybe about this session. I'd love to read your notes there. So this is what it built for me. I basically, based on it, I said, hey, just give me some visual elements here. So everything is represented as a leaf of different colors based on the modality it came in from. I can click on any of these leaves and see what came in. And here I can see all of the actual data, whether it was text or voice or just even emojis. Even images can be translated into by the agent saying, this is how I infer. I see home, I see family, I see heart. Okay, I infer this as XYZ, right? So because again, I have teenage kids and college going kids. They don't write a whole lot, but they use emojis. So that was on my mind. So I built this app. If I kind of go back to my version of where I built it, I'll show you I built this in like less than 2 hours. So I think this was the one. Yeah, so if I show you, I started actually, yeah, I started building it at 11 p.m. one night. And what you're seeing on my screen, I completed that by 11:45-ish, like not even 40 minutes to build this. And here I can add a gratitude. So, or I could, of course, do a voice mode. And I can say, all right, this is from, actually, Kane, I'm gonna put you here. And I'm gonna add it to the jar. And I kind of also made it a little visual where it shows the leaf dropping in. And everything is just happy. It's Thanksgiving. It's that spirit and time of the year. So this is where you just saw an example of just bringing an idea to life. And I kind of go to this now to even create those micro apps for my and my family's use for some very specific needs. All right. So this kind of covers what I wanted to show for build work. And let me finish one more and I can take questions. So this is more general purpose. So I'm kind of I'm talking about, there are of course lots of other use cases. So one use case here is how can I build my custom chat GPT so that I don't have to repeat the same prompt every time within a context of a certain kind of work. So I'm going to go to ChatGPT. And on ChatGPT, there is a concept of creating custom GPTs. If you notice, I have a lot of custom GPTs here. I created a custom GPT here that is to help people in my cohort with, like job search and resume tailoring. So if I show you what this looks like in the backend, I've given it a name, what its description, and then I've given it my prompt, my instructions for this agent. Because it's an agent, think of it as a manifest or on what you're supposed to do, and step by step how you process something. So where this could be useful is if you are in marketing or if you are, doing some kind of work that is repeated, and you have this whole context that you want to bring to still for general purpose, like email campaigns, resume tailoring, your email sequence generation. Again, the use cases are endless. This is where you can think of creating custom ChatGPT and harness its power to allow you to use GPT in a manner that's highly tailored for your purposes, as long as you're using that custom chat GPT. One more thing I want to call out is don't hesitate. If you have not tried, please use the voice mode. I use the voice mode extensively when I'm on the go, when I'm driving, when I'm walking, because that's my thinking time. So a lot of times I'll just launch the voice mode and I'll start talking to AI to say, hey, I'm thinking about this. And then we kind of go into an hour-long brainstorming session. All of that transcript is recorded. So I'm just kind of giving you some other examples of how you can, even within ChatGPT, take a step further in how you harness the power of something like a chat GPT. All right, now I'm going to take a quick pause and take any questions.
Whoops. There we go. Oh, obviously I need AI to help me click the button correctly. We have one more question. How do you, and this is a this is a good one. How do you keep up with the newest technology slash agents? How do you decide which ones are noise and which ones can actually help? How do you choose the best ones?
So, it does take a lot of time. I spend a lot of time outside of my regular work to keep up with the space because it's something I'm passionate about. I think the best way is to join a community. I run a community, and there are many more out there. You can also sign up for newsletters. But of course, anything you do, it will require a level of commitment for you to show up or read these newsletters so you can keep up. But the more you use AI, the more you can start to develop your patterns and see what's noise, what's real. Um, I would recommend going through some baseline training so that you can also understand what are some of the guardrails to define what's good or what's real, what's not, or what's a hype. But really, it starts with continuing to be curious, aligning yourself, putting yourself in communities where these conversations are regular threads, and then also spend some time in enablement so you understand what good looks like.
Thank you. That's great. All right. Here, one more. What is the cost of using all of these different tools? I assume you are using capabilities beyond just the free version.
That is correct. Yeah. I mean, most of what I have shown you, you can actually do it for free. You can't build like a whole website like this. You will run out of credits. I think like I am on Lovable, I think I'm on like a $50 per month plan. So I get enough credits to build something like this. But generally, you can get started with any of these tools for free, and you can get a lot of what I was sharing even on a free version. Of course, I am a power user of these tools and I also use these for my workshops. So I do tend to pay. And on an average, and between these tools and a few more that I use, I would say I'm probably spending around 120 or $150 a month.
Okay, that's great. What is a good baseline training course that you would recommend?
Well, this is an interesting one. Let me come back to that, Charlotte.
Okay.
Okay. An answer, of course, also depends, but I just want to wrap up the third one, which is, when you're thinking about AI first mindset, of course, expand your landscape, integrate it more into your flows. And I already talked about teammates, but start building your toolkit. Don't limit yourself to just one tool. And also don't become one of those people who is just chasing tools for the sake of chasing tools. I experiment with every tool, but I have landed on what my go-to tools are because they work for me. And it's not about what tool I use, it's about the output that I'm able to create from those. So in this illustration, I'm just showing you what my toolkit looks like. For research and knowledge, I'm going to Perplexity and Notebook. For general purpose, I've listed some here. And then for creation, I've gone to these tools. I have a colleague who I run the workshop with, and his toolkit looks completely different, by the way. And we both are able to produce the same output. So just kind of think about what your toolkit could be in context of what you're trying to accomplish and what kind of teammates you're looking to add in your ecosystem. And with that, I know we're coming at time, so this is just continue to learn about the landscape. Even if you start with the tools that I have covered today, you're 50%, you're far ahead of most people who are using AI today, right? Integrate it into your applications, and of course, continue to think of it categorically on how each of these fit in your workflows. And with that, Charlotte, in terms of how to think about getting started, what's a good course, it will vary based on your role and what kind of skills you're trying to develop. But I do run a workshop which is fundamentally about training you on all of these things and telling you the good, talking about good practices. We do a lot of hands-on work there as well, so that I can just get you like it's 6 months worth of learning compressed in a 6-hour workshop so that you can move past the overwhelm. You can stop being in the sidelines and actually jump in and be far ahead in your learning and application process.
Okay, we are right at the hour. About a minute left. getting lots of thank yous in the chat, and I want to add that to everyone else's thank you as well. It was great. My head's spinning a little bit, but it's really amazing the tools that are out there and what you can do. So, Swati, thank you once again. Thanks to all of you who did spend today with us. And again, if anyone asks you that didn't get to participate, everyone who registered will get an email on Friday with a link to the recording plus access to the slides. So thank you. And everyone have a great day and go Jackets.
Thank you, everyone. Take care. I look forward to hearing from all of you. And thank you, Charlotte.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.